I'll give you the full quote again.
Thank you, sorry.
We use Garnishees and other firm actions only after these attempts to engage the taxpayer have failed. On average, there have been 19 interactions or attempts to engage a taxpayer before we exercise Garnishee powers.
Thank you. So the 19 is a variable number, and it could be, in fact, more than that in some occasions. The approach that we take, and I have our head of debt on the line to also help with some more detail, depends on the risk profile of the individual we're working with. So if you or I administratively lost track of something, we ended up with a small tax debt, it's unlikely that we're going to send you anything other than a nudge SMS just to remind you, look, this is unusual for you, you've got a tax debt due. And we find that to be very effective. We then have the ability to make outbound calls to people. We have colour-coded the letters that we send to clients now, so it's like an electricity bill. Mm-hmm. You get the first letter and the second, and it goes from blue to red. Then there's a matter of us. We call this kind of our early intervention work. So some cases where it's gone to Garnishee will have moved straight from the first assessment being done straight to Garnishee. It will. So that will be, none of this will be employed because the client might be someone referred from the AFP. We know that there's evidence of criminal behaviour, and actually for us to be issuing, we issue the statement at the same time as we Garnishee to make sure that assets aren't dissipated.
Okay, so can I,
Yep.
That's very helpful,
Yep.
and that's kind of exactly what I was looking for, to be honest, because obviously it doesn't come as a galloping shock that the IGTO published a report on the 19th of March relating to the ATO's conduct with respect to PMT Proprietary Limited, a gold refiner on the Sunshine Coast. And the IGTO says in part that they are of the view that we are unable to provide assurance that the ATO's Garnishee action was reasonable in the circumstances and was in accordance with PSLA 2011/18 and PSLA 2011/14. So I guess where an independent assessment of Garnishee action is made and it is found to be anything but reasonable in the circumstances, how can the ATO continue to justify that position? Because it's been clear from the IGTO's independent assessment of the circumstances, this was a taxpayer who readily engaged with the ATO, and in fact, irrelevant considerations in the eyes of the IGTO had been included in the decision to issue the Garnishee.
So, Senator, I can't talk specifically about any particular taxpayer. I can't talk about the details, and I don't have the details at hand.
So this is a public report by the IGTO which clearly assesses the ATO's conduct as anything but reasonable in the circumstances. So I guess what I'm looking for is what is the ATO doing about its actions in this area? I acknowledge that this is a difficult area of taxation collection, and indeed there are very legitimate circumstances for the use of those powers. But repeatedly, the ATO points to statements like the Commissioner's provided, on average there's 19 interactions to engage a taxpayer. Well, you've just clearly articulated there are instances where there are in fact no contact made with a taxpayer before this happens.
So maybe I'm trying to help to answer the question. Maybe I could talk a bit about how we do actually put the safeguards around ensuring that when we do issue a Garnishee...
But those safeguards were the safeguards, I assume, that applied in this circumstance that have been clearly assessed independently as falling short of the mark.
Well,
so
I'm
not looking for a PR exercise, I'm looking for what we're doing about it.
No, I understand that, and I don't want to do that. But I do want to let you know that we have progressively, we've had a number of reviews done into how we actually go about collecting outstanding debt. I mean, we've got a legal obligation, we have a large debt book, and we need to, by law, pursue that. And we are constantly improving. We have teams that are constantly looking at complaints, looking at how can we do things better. It's our MO. We're constantly looking at this. And we have, I'm not sure where this actually falls, but we have quite a number of changes that have been progressively made. I've been there for 5 years. I know there's been quite significant changes over those 5-year period that actually put a lot of safeguards around ensuring that circumstances such as, I don't know the details, but where it's been assessed that it's not accurate, that is not okay. We take this very seriously. We understand the strength of the power, and we make sure that we put significant safeguards around that.
So if on notice you could provide that detail, that would be good, because the ATO's apology that was issued to PMT says things like, "I apologise for any impact and I apologise for any inconvenience." And the IGTO has found that apology falls short of the standards which might be expected of a revenue authority. So I guess the point here is that self-assessment is no assessment at all. The independent assessment is that we've fallen short in this space. So on notice, I'd very much appreciate that detail, because I do appreciate the sentiment behind that.